Community. It's my pleasure to present to you this evening a brief history of our Fisherman's Landing working waterfront project. It has a great history, and you all should be very proud of this park. I want to say that first of all, because as I dove through all of the enabling documents that are attached to this property, it really has a significant history. We purchased this property back in 2009, 2010 with funding from the Florida Communities Trust in regard to their Stan Mayfield Working Waterfront program. It is specifically purchased as a working waterfront. In addition, the Florida Inland Navigation District has provided significant funding to the city for many of the improvements that you find on this property. The three enabling documents that I'm referring to are the Stan Mayfield Working Waterfront Grant Contract from '09 and the Declaration of Restrictive Covenants in 2010, and just the copy of the management plan. These documents segue together in order to provide the city with their conditions of requirements for this property, their uses, the uses of this property, and how we can continue to support the working waterfront. One of the overriding concepts, if you will, or mission statement, whichever one you want to take, is the main objective, which is the project site shall be managed only for the conservation, protection, and enhancement of working waterfronts, along with other related uses necessary for the accomplishment of this purpose, specifically designated, and then the management plan approved by the FCT. When we're talking working waterfronts, we're talking about commercial fisheries. Our city was founded on commercial fishing. We want to support that industry. It is one of our economic drivers. We are very fortunate and lucky that we have this property and that we have two very well-known distributors working out of this facility. The management objectives for the site, we've really gone a long way in meeting all five of those. We protect and promote commercial fishing by providing dockage. You see the dockage out there, our marina. We protect commercial fishing by providing an area for the packing, shipping of freshly caught seafood and aquacultural products. That is our project that we are completing right now. We rebuilt the historic fish house. We provide a museum so that others can also enjoy our history and be knowledgeable about it. And we also have a local seafood presented at the fish market and eatery, fondly known as Crabby Bill's. In the management plan, it was proposed many uses, different uses that would be there. In order to modify the management plan, we need to have approval from the FCT. We have been striving to meet all of these uses. We may have to ask for some modifications, such as the touch pool. It's a little expensive and has a lot of liability, so we may not want that. But we're working towards that. Ken Kilgore and I provide an annual activity and revenue report to FCT. We are, again, striving to come into compliance with the management plan so that we can move toward a 5-year transition, 5-year reporting period instead of annually. This property actually was two properties that have morphed now into one. Those that have been here a long time finally remember the Hurricane Harbor site, and that included all of the parking to the west side of Indian River Drive. And there's 150 parking spaces over there that we've improved with the drainage and the parking, as well as 4 handicap spaces north of the building, which currently includes Crabby Bill's and our museum. The second parcel is the Dabrowski site, which included the submerged land lease, and it currently has the fish house on it, as well as the upland areas in front of the submerged land lease, where we have currently built the distribution center and the restroom. In Crabby Bill's lease, the highlighted areas are the sections of the building that they are responsible for and which houses their entity, their business entity. You see the museum area is our responsibility, and then the other outlining areas are for joint use areas for all activities at the facility. In addition, the Crabby Bill's lease includes the parking on the north side of the parking lot. It has been signed that way by the city. The city has also assisted in painting the handicap parking spaces north of the building, as well as providing a designated loading zone for the business itself, and to help them continue to operate easily. Hurricane Harbor is listed on the State Registry of Historic Places. It's not a historic structure. It has been modified way too many times, but it is a historic place, as Dabrowski's is. We have promised, if you will, through the enabling documents, that we will have a facility to host demonstrations about fishing history and commercial fishing history and trades and educational events. And we will provide a fish market and eatery with limited food service of Florida seafood. We did not want, nor was it promised, to have a facility that would be in competition with our other restaurateurs and entertainment facilities along Indian River Drive, and that is what we have provided. Now, Fisherman's Landing Sebastian, Inc., they are our commercial fishing nonprofit that helps to organize all of the commercial fishermen that have lease space in the marina. This is not a private marina. This is only for commercial fishermen, and they get their leases, they lease their spaces through Fisherman's Landing Sebastian, Inc., who leases everything from us. Their lease includes the upland area as well as submerged land, and also, which you see here again with the Dabrowski site. Basically, the Dabrowski site is what they lease, as well as the parking on the south side of the parking lot, and that has also been signed and designated by the city. I apologize for my crude drawings. You know, I had computer problems this week. Anywho, you'll see that in what's in front of you, that upland area, if you will, was always designated to be part of the working waterfront facility and has been designated for the distribution and the commercial fishermen from day one. So in final, this is the drawing of the site you see today. The project included, as we all know, the shoreline revetment areas, which I think just looks fabulous, and I cannot even tell you how excited I am that the sandy shoreline has been preserved, and I can't even tell you how many birds are out there all of the time waiting and still feeding. And then we were able to provide on-street parking for the public, in addition to all of the parking on the west side, and the remainder of the property there, of course, is for the distribution of services for our commercial fishermen. I want it to be known that our distributors and our commercial fishermen contributed. They not only paid for this design, the engineering design, but they contributed to the construction of this also. So they have been instrumental in making this all come on board, as well as find, of course, and we thank everyone for that. I'm here to answer whatever questions you may have.
Okay. It's a very nice presentation.
Thank you.
It's been, 11 years, I think, since this was talked about in a lot of detail when it was first put through. So we have a lot of new residents and a lot of new active people in our political environment that are asking questions about it, and it's because they really weren't involved in it in the early days when it went through. So I think it's a great presentation to do that. I kind of like to see this on our website, maybe. I think you could read through this on your own and understand it. So it might be worth sticking that out on our website.
Absolutely.
I just want to reiterate that the reason that parking lot was built on the east side of Indian River Drive that people are complaining about is because that was our obligation to provide parking for the commercial fishermen who are working out of that site. And so it's not it's not that we built a citizens parking lot and then closed it off. It's that was built specifically to support the fishermen and the transfer of fish and the trucks that go in there and stuff. And so I know there's been a lot of discussion on social media about that parking lot, and the city, nothing was done. Mr. Carlisle, you want to say something?
So, just to clarify, that was not built as a parking area. That entire concrete area is a loading and unloading zone.
Right.
In our conversations with the fishermen and the distributors who use that site, they use large semis and box trucks, and they were backing across Indian River Drive to go to the site. They wanted a site where they could pull in, load their fish, back up, and make a U-turn and come back out forward. The reason they don't want vehicles in there is because there's no telling when they're going to bring those trucks in, and you may be on a walk down Indian River Drive, and your car is in the way. And now we have fresh fish sitting on a dock that can't get out.
Yeah.
And so that's always been a loading and unloading zone. It wasn't that way when they were backing across, but that wasn't safe mixing that with the public. And that's why they designed it this way. If that makes sense, Mayor.
And I think it's important for everybody to understand that we're pretty much at the end of the original project on this. And we have, the working waterfront is operational. They're actually bringing fish in. I know you may not see it because you may not be there at the time they bring a boat in and unload it, but they are bringing fish in. And we're pretty much at the end of that phase. However, the city has an obligation to maintain that property. One of the things that the city has an obligation to maintain is the building that used to be called Hurricane Harbor. And at some point in time, we're going to have to do an assessment on that, and the city's going to have to take the obligation of making that building sound again. And I know that, I don't know what that is today, and I don't think we need to even get into detail in discussion, but at some point in time, we're going to be dealing with that. And I know there's people out there that are questioning that, but we don't have any choice but to do that. It's part of the process and part of the object. Did you want to say something?
Yeah, I do have a proposal that we're finalizing with one of our engineering companies to do the structural assessment of the building and to find out what the cost would be to bring it up to all codes. And we'll be bringing that, it's about a 4-week process. We'll be bringing that proposal to you at the first meeting in July. And it's going to take about 4 to 6 weeks to do their structural analysis and get that report back to us so that we can bring that to council for council to consider. And I know Ms. Frazier didn't mention it, but our obligation isn't to restore that building. Our obligation is to provide a structure to do that. So we'll need to know what that cost is and what the cost benefit is. But again, we won't know that until we get the evaluation completed.
And our overall intent as a city for that riverfront area is to have that very, very conducive to bringing tourists into this city and bringing other local residents in for entertainment purposes. And this working waterfront is as a kingpin or linchpin in that process.
The driver. It's the driver.
So it doesn't have to look like the fish market in San Francisco on the Fisherman's Wharf, because we're not San Francisco and it's not the Fisherman's Wharf. But it is a driver. It does bring people into this town. And so I think it's overall it was a great project. What we have to do now is to surround it with things that build upon the attractiveness of that, which means we can't surround it with big houses on the river. We have to surround it with mixed-use things that build that attractiveness around that project. And that's an important thing for us to deal with. And we're going to be talking in a few minutes about our comp plan, which actually talks about that kind of stuff. So. Thank you. You have a question, Jim? No. Anyone else have any comments?
Yeah, I just want to say, I want to thank you for that presentation, because there has been a lot of chatter out there about why we can't park over there, why there's no parking spaces. But hopefully this gives everyone knowledge that here's why we can't park over there. So I really appreciate it. And I think all the people that have questions about that, those questions have been answered. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Thank you. And Mr. Mayor, if I just, on that vein, I just wanted to add that every so often you will see trucks parked over there. The fishermen who have lease space there are allowed to be parking over there to be able to unload, work on their boats. I mean, we don't want them having to run across Indian River Drive just to get to their trucks. They are allowed to be there. So I just want everyone to know that that is allowed. So thank you all.
Make sure the police department know about that.
Yeah. So noted.
All right, thank you.